Hello guys, this video is a collection of exercises you can do in order to get spatial imagination or lift it to the next level. They are in no particular order and sometimes I will point towards other videos. Let's go! So, exercise number 1. Draw your surrounding. And do it like this. Draw your paper and your hand drawing the paper. Then draw what you see next to it. Do not use construction lines or any planning on this drawing. It is pure observational drawing. So do not draw a long straight line just because you know it is long and straight. It actually is the best if you even forget what you are drawing. Rather, just spiral your way outwards. Eventually, you will learn to see or feel lines coming towards you and receding away from you, and a feeling for objects shrinking in size when they are far away, etc. If you want, I have a video here which pushes you a bit more to experience this. In the next exercise, we will learn to draw cubes using vanishing points. This will help you to draw cubes freehand from any angle. And if you are fluent with cubes, it only is a minor step to be able to draw all kinds of objects, like cylinders or whatever. Vanishing points are used to draw objects that have physically parallel lines. A cube has parallel lines and he may have either 1, 2 or 3 vanishing points. And after you placed some vanishing points, you can draw cubes all over the place using the guidelines, like so. And if you are comfortable with that, try doing it without drawing the whole guidelines. Omitting to draw the lines entirely to a vanishing point may be called ghosting. Ghosted lines will still point towards a vanishing point. I mention this ghosting thing because the following exercise will also be related to it. Anyways, skipping to draw the guidelines is the first step, and with some more practice you may not even need to draw the vanishing points anymore. Then you truly can draw cubes all over the place. You can test how good of a job you did by checking whether these converging lines are meeting at the same point. Not having to rely on drawing vanishing points all the time also is important because they often tend to be far away and therefore are unhandy to draw. Then just use ghosting to define their location. If you want to dive really deep into the theory of perspective and vanishing points, I again recommend my own video. Although for using vanishing points and becoming a perspective drawing pro, you actually don't need to dive that deep. Now the exercise that addresses ghosting. Draw some area, draw a vanishing point outside of the area, and draw 2 guidelines in the area. Then hide the vanishing point. Now the challenge is to draw more lines, and they should be pointing towards the vanishing point. Afterwards, you can check how well they point towards the vanishing point. And if you want to become even more robust with ghosting, try this also with other shapes. The next exercise will sharpen your sense of depth and how fast objects will shrink in size when they are far away. There is some easy geometry for this. If you have some aligned objects, like here, you just need to follow these diagonals in order to know where the next tile starts. Do this a few times and your feeling for the right spacing will improve for sure. You also can do this if you want to know where the midpoint of your object in perspective is. This is very helpful for drawing symmetric things, for instance. And let me tell you, a lot of things in this world are symmetric. And of course, this also works if your perspective is a bit turned. So, next exercise. How do you draw round objects in perspective? Here, ellipses join the game. Round or circular objects in perspective will be ellipses on your canvas. If you can draw cubes a little, that is a good starting point for ellipses. So, draw a cube. Now in any of its sides, you can fit an ellipse in. They just need to touch the edges in the midpoints of the squares. Note that they not necessarily are in the middle of an edge. Don't be shy to circle around a bit until you found it. Also be encouraged to draw big and with your whole arm. This makes it easier and prevents you from cheating yourself. And that of course also holds for the other exercises. So draw big if you can. And now when you can draw ellipses, you also can draw cylinders in perspective, or all other sorts of round stuff for that matter. For example, the wheels of a motorcycle. Draw two planes and fit ellipses in. Or you also can use construction to get the segments of a cylinder. And yeah, no one uses this much construction for their everyday cylinders, but that's kind of the point. Use as much construction as you need, and eventually you can skip more and more of it, just like with the ghosting of the cubes, and just rely on your feeling. Also notice that ellipses far away from you are more turned towards you. And that's it about ellipses. The next exercise is a bit more on the advanced side. You maybe already heard that you can break down any complex form into a bunch or a combination of simpler forms. And this exercise may lift your understanding of basic forms to the next level. So draw any object in perspective and draw other objects that interact with the first one. Interaction really can be anything. It can be bodies that intersect each other, cubes that have hinges with other cubes, cylinders that lean on each other. You really can be creative here. And only if you draw bodies in interaction, you see whether you really understood them. This feedback is very important, and here is a short video of mine which addresses this. Anyways, to me, especially the intersecting of bodies was a revelation. I felt like practicing this a few times brought me farther than years of practicing other stuff. You also can try to draw super complex objects, like the cube circle, the dog collar with spikes, the crown, or the winding stairs. But no need for perfection. I also struggle with these. And you know, if it helps, just apply your knowledge about perspective. Now for the next exercise, let's move away from this technical stuff towards real life. Like before, you can learn a lot about space by drawing from life. Only this time we do it not observational, but constructional. For this, probably the best thing you can do is to visit a museum and draw statues. If there is no museum at hand, just find something else solid and interesting and close up. Then try to break whatever you choose to draw down into simple shapes. If you already have some experience with the basic forms, here is the perfect place to toy around with what you learned. And if not, probably it also does work the other way around. And now, last but not least, an exercise that I found joy very recently with, and for which I wish I did it long before. The perspective map, as I call it. It allows you to draw any shape in perspective. All you have to do is to draw your shape on a 2D grid, and then you trace it onto a perspective grid. In the description, you can find grids in different perspectives. Or, for example, you can reference Minecraft, or photograph a chessboard, or simply draw your own grids. Do this a few times and you will get a feeling for how lines will behave in perspective, and how strong they will be foreshortened, etc. Doing this helped me very much at drawing symmetric things, or symmetric lines oriented in space. And in particular, it helped me to draw shoes, which is something I always struggled with. I did not know their ground form well and could not place them authentically in space. Doing the perspective map with shoe soles really helped me with that. After that, drawing the rest of the shoe is way easier. And there, the practice with the basic forms comes in very handy. So, these were 8 nice exercises for spatial imagination. Some are more advanced than others, but don't let this discourage you. If something overwhelms you now, this may make you learn faster later. And also for me, these things are hard to do consistently. But you don't need to turn into a human rendering machine before you can do nice things. Every bit does a lot. Please let me know in the comments if an exercise was particularly helpful or if you have your own ways to practice perspective. See you soon!